What's going on?
Hey.
Tuesday.
Yes, sir.
What is up, people?
What's happening?
What's going on, everybody?
Man, let's get it with some energy, y'all. Where y'all at? Come on now. Welcome to the collective shit. It's
So
it's like, come on, Tuesday, November 2nd, y'all.
We're supposed to be the host.
Right. I'm the what up? This is conspiracy, brother. You see, I'm wearing a different hat. I want y'all to know it's still me. It's on a different day. This is our special show. This is for the election. So we did the show yesterday, pre-election. This is our post-election show. We want to do a recap, follow-up. So this is essentially a local beats show. We're going to talk about some issues that are really pertinent to the local Detroit community as it pertains to the election, with some other specific issues. So we appreciate you coming out. Hopefully you're joining us. Hopefully it's not too late. Hopefully this is entertaining and informative as always. Please share this live stream on your Facebook and your Twitter. Share it via text message. Share like you can. And this is our newly scheduled day. So from now on, it's this Tuesday and every other Tuesday. So we've alternated Tuesdays now. So just a new day. Moved it back 1 week. A new day to get used to.
Yeah, it will be Tuesday of the first week and third week of the month. That's the best way to think about it.
Yeah. And
first and the third week of the month.
Yep, versus the second and fourth where we were on previously.
So you know me, I'm Conspiracy Brother, and I'll pass it off to my next person to me up top is J Rocky. So I'll pass it off. Introduce yourself.
Hey, it's Adolph J. Rocky, a.k.a. Gerard Ibn Lamont. We coming to you from the east side of Detroit, your resident east side political commentator. There you go. Giving you commentary. We have an action-packed show. We're going to be talking about some things that's going on in the HBCU world, as well as some other national issues. So without further ado, Ernest, what do you got to say to the people, man?
Oh, yeah, you guys know Ernest Russell checking in out here in Lansing, Michigan. Here to have a discussion like always. Looking forward to getting some call-ins. Hopefully we can get you guys' opinion on these topics that we go over. Definitely so that we can see, how the people are feeling. Because we know how we feel, as reparationists and people who kind of follow this topic. But we would love to see people who are just kind of waking up to the realities of what we're in and seeing what you think on that. So I'll pass it off to Darvell.
Yeah, people. So, hey, appreciate that. I got a strong team. We got a strong team on here today. I'm Darvell. I'm hiding out from the secret hideout. Don't be worried about the hideout. Just know that I'm hiding. But reality is that we got to talk about the city of Detroit, because the city of Detroit is a weather vane for the Black community. So we're going to be talking about the elections in Detroit. We're going to talk about the nuances and why they were so important this year. We're also going to talk, like I said, about that Howard University situation, which I think is extremely telling, as well as a situation down at the White House, not too far from there, regarding some people getting some monies.
Some monies.
It sounds like some people found they found some money for some more people that wasn't us.
That wasn't us. Surprise. Am I close enough, Darvell?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, boy. Some people that wasn't us. But like he said, as we crack into this, please share. I'm trying to share. Everyone's sharing. They're gonna take a second, share it on their Facebook, on their Twitter, their Instagram, YouTube, what have you. Post this up, because we got to get into this conversation. Not enough people are getting in on this conversation, and I think it's important, and it's very important to our future. So what we're gonna do is go ahead and bust into this first topic, first story, right? Let's see what's going on over with our friends at Howard University. I heard that NPR covered a little bit of something for them. What is this? Students at Howard University are protesting poor housing conditions on campus. You went to an HBCU, didn't you? Did y'all go to HBCUs?
Oh, yeah.
Two of our members went to HBCUs.
Yeah. Hey, look, and in true HBCU fashion, one of them didn't finish. No.
In true Freedman fashion. That's
right.
It's not just HBCUs, it's Freedman and the rest of the country, and now the PWIs.
Well, true. That is true.
Man, they get you wherever we at, they'll get us. We'll be missing from the story.
Jarvell, do we have the TikTok video? Do we have that? I won't.
There was a TikTok video you sent me, sir.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I know what you're talking about, Gerard.
Yeah, I think he posted it in the group me. Yeah, that's why I'm wearing this hat. That's why I'm wearing my
Morehouse. What's the hat mean? Tell me about
cap.
The hat.
So I attended Morehouse College. I attended Morehouse College. Looks like I'm freezing up, so they own to me. But from the fall of 2007 to the summer or spring of 2008, I attended Morehouse College. Morehouse Maroon Tigers. Dear old Morehouse. Dear old Morehouse. No. But so when we do HBCU specific content, I'd like to just represent my HBCU as much as I can. And my wife actually graduated from Spelman. She graduated from Spelman, is sitting on quite a bit of debt because Spelman is quite expensive. And she did attend a master's program at Howard University. So I kind of got a dog in all of this.
Right.
Quite a bit of debt from Howard. So we're sitting on quite a bit of debt from all of this Freedman experience. And so essentially what you see here from this article from NPR, Howard University's campus conditions are so deplorable and not so much outside of the realm of the norm for HBCUs in general. But their campus conditions are so deplorable that students are actually protesting. The NPR you can take it from the top.
Let me just read a little bit of this. So this
quote our guy, Obsidian Black, fair use, homies, fair
use. Don't be playing with us. So listen, going into their second week of sit-ins, students at Howard University in Washington, D.C. are continuing to fight for answers from the campus administration as they protest the school's poor housing conditions. A top Howard official says the school has worked with student leaders to provide a best-in-class university experience. Ooh, that's a lot to be saying. More than 150 students with the group Live Movement, an organization advocating for education reform and academic advancement, began protesting at the school's Blackburn University Center on October 12th. Hold on. Live Movement? We got to ask that question, who you, right?
Mm-hmm.
Who is? I'm poking around like, who is this? Who is this? We'll come back to that. I'll show you in a second. We want to make sure that these folks is for us and by us. That's the key, right? Anyway, 150 students with the group Live Movement, an organization advocating for education reform, began protesting at the school's Blackburn University Center on October 12th. Protesters at Howard, one of the nation's top historically Black colleges, are demanding an in-person town hall with University President Wayne A.I. Frederick by the end of the month to address concerns about housing and student life. And we're going to look at wait a minute. We're going to have to look at this Instagram. Wait a minute. Hold on. Oh, they got some demands, yeah. Well, it's kind of whack. I'm not even going to leave it. Anyway, students who are protesting say they will not leave the building until campus officials agree to discuss their list of demands. Now, since the start of the fall semester, students say they've raised concerns regarding the mold on the walls of their dorms, the lack of COVID-19 testing for students, and the overall safety on campus, according to DCS/WAMU. As of last month, however, the mold has been discovered in 34 rooms on campus, according to the local news station WJLA-TV, and there are roughly 2,700 rooms on Howard's campus. Now, that's 34 out of 2,700. There really doesn't seem like there's a plan of action. Freshman Kadrina Tourné said, what is it?
Kadriana.
You see that K? You see that K?
Yeah.
And that
Ernest Blackaby.
Hey, right. Ernest was like, "Oh, that's Kadriana.
That's Kadriana."
That represent one
Oh,
time.
man.
I ain't gonna
Our black cars just got taken right now.
Yeah, it's fine. Mine's always there.
No, go ahead.
Ernest just checked us. Just then.
She said that given her issues with on-campus housing, she's considering transferring from Howard after completing her first year, saying the campus doesn't live up to the expectations she had prior to moving in. In a statement on Twitter last week, Cynthia, Vice President of Student Affairs, said well-being of students is always one of our top concerns. Evers said university leadership has collaborated with student leaders to address their concerns and continue to provide a best-in-class university experience. Best in class. Best in what class?
The HBCU class?
The Freedman class?
Yeah, that's what they meant.
So look, let me just
we're gonna give you the best of the best of the lefts out.
And that's really important to look at, man. Fox has that new show. It looks like I froze again. Fox got that new show, Our Kind of People. And that's based off a book by a man named Lawrence Otis Graham. And his book is really more of like an expose. And what it does is it's like a peek into the lives of the elite freedmen families, right? Blacks who do attend schools like Howard, like Morehouse, like Spelman, like Fisk, and who have built successful careers, been able to be Fortune 500, but also, go to PWI universities, still elite, Princeton, Harvard, Yale, schools like that. And so one of the things about Howard, Morehouse, and Spelman is they're considered, like a lot of people call them, the Black Ivies. So they're like the Ivy League of HBCUs. And so for Howard to have these type of deplorable conditions at what is considered the best of HBCU has to offer, what do we expect from schools like, and I'm not trying to throw shade at anybody, Alabama A&M or, you know what I'm saying, South Carolina State, schools where they aren't so well known and so well funded, because a lot of these institutions who have the acclaim, it's more because they serve as pipelines for white institutions, meaning institutions of education and employment, to farm traditionally affirmative action Black talent directly at the source, right? So like for Tuskegee, they're known for engineering. So if you want a Black engineer, you go to Tuskegee. Morehouse is well known for finance, biology or medicine, and religion, right? Spelman is well known for biology or sciences, and I think fine arts. Howard has got, they're a university, so they have a medical school, a law school, they have a dental school. And so you look at Meharry, a medical college. Fisk University is just known as a well-known Black university. And so these kind of schools that have a track record of putting Black people into positions of prominence within white institutions, whether that means transferring. I know that Spelman has some type of agreement, I believe, an engineering dual degree program with the University of Michigan. And I believe Morehouse has a dual degree engineering program with Georgia Tech. So they do have, and I believe either Lehman Brothers or Bear Stearns actually endowed a chair at Morehouse in their finance department. So these institutions, and I'm speaking about these HBCUs specifically, as much as I wished when I went to Morehouse that I was finding a place that incubated Black thought, Black social movement, Black social engagement, what I found is there were places that were geared at preparing Black people to work within the white spaces, preparing Black people to conform to white expectations of hireable Black people. Right now, my wife graduated from Spelman, so she has an even deeper understanding of that kind of grooming in that regard for how to prepare for interviews, how to propose a resume and compose it in such a way that it makes you more appealing, how to dress, how to speak, or whatever. And those things are important. But I feel like what I missed, what I expected, because Martin Luther King went to Morehouse, and he's their most famous alumni, bar none. Although there are quite a few who have done important things, Spike Lee, Samuel L. Jackson. I forget his name. I believe his last name is Nevins. He died about 5 or 6 years ago, played Radio Raheem. And there are more that I can't think of just off the top of my head who have gone on to do important or impactful things in America. A former black, the first black surgeon general graduated from Morehouse College.
The black billionaire that paid for
he didn't go to Morehouse. No, he didn't go to Morehouse.
Okay,
No, he didn't go to Morehouse. But what I find is that you see, even when you dig into Martin Luther King's time at Morehouse, what I found was that he didn't really fit in at that place because it had already kind of developed a clique by the time he was there in the 40s. You see what I'm saying? Because he started going there at 16, and he would commute from his house and actually walk to school. And so it's been Maynard Jackson, the first black mayor of Atlanta, went to Morehouse. Andrew Young went to Howard. And so there's a rich tradition of black activists, but there's also a rich tradition of black, I don't want to call them bootlicks, but conformists.
Conformists,
right? Yeah. You were an activist because you had to be an activist because all you wanted was to be able to participate in the American dream. And that was illegal for us. But as soon as you were able to fully invest yourself in America, you completely lost the black, And so,
yeah, I say something that was interesting that you were saying, bro, was when you pointed out like to whose standard, right? When you were saying like top in class, right? To whose standard, and so that's important when we're looking at HBCUs because if you can have these type of conditions at Howard, like he's suggesting. Imagine what you could have at the lowest HBCUs or the HBCUs that are not getting that recognition or that funding. And as somebody who went to the least expensive HBCU in Ohio, I'll say that definitely seen, some of the days that the Howard students are seeing as far as like for our campus, like we went, I think like 5 days where the water was off. And so they had to like come with like water bottles. People had to leave campus to shower. And that made like local news in Dayton, but that was like as a result of like, some bad plumbing that went on. And so the water wasn't sanitizable or drinkable. And so they had to wait a few days until it was all good. But long story short, we all went through that experience, going to an HBCU, you get that second class kind of experience as far as education when you compare it to a PWI, like something like Michigan State. You basically getting all of these, you get the basic necessities of what it'd take to achieve an education, but not necessarily the amenities that it'd take to advance or, increase the, I would say the progressiveness of the education or something like that.
Yo, I just want to drop in and say something real quick. So I'm poking around on I'm poking around on the tag Blackburn Takeover. Because that's the the hashtag they're using for the Howard University thing. Mm-hmm. And I guess earlier today, Howard University released a statement on Twitter, said, "We're sad to report that the occupation of Blackburn has led to unintended consequence for the Howard University community. Due to the cafe being closed, some Sodexo workers have been laid off. We are committed to working with students to avoid more repercussions like this." Yeah, so they're saying that the occupation led to people losing their job.
So, and I mean, even they talk about, campus safety. I've been to Howard's campus. Like I said, my wife went there. She did a program there. And so I went there, Morehouse, Spelman. Campus is extremely dangerous because they're in black communities. So there's just a certain level of risk that you take as a student, as a parent, when you send your children to HBCUs. And that is indicative of the freedmen experience in this country. Right. These schools largely were built to educate slaves. right?
Yeah, former slaves, freedmen.
And so, right,
Set
they
up by
were built to educate freedmen. And
right,
so,
freedmen. Set up by
when
the Freedmen Bureau.
right, and or private means, which is why a lot of them are private. Morehouse is private, Spelman is private, Howard is private, and so they cost exponentially more because their funding is right, Wilberforce, because their funding, federal funding is minimal to nothing. Tuskegee, where you'll see like I believe Delaware State is an HBCU, but because it's a state university, I think the student body might be 70% white. Or Kentucky State, which is also an HBCU, or again the student body might be 70 to 90% white, right? And so we talked about this a couple shows ago with Biden cutting the funding in the budget bill from 40, the potential funding for HBCUs from 45 or 48 billion to about 2 billion. And this is the consequence. So we don't have enough money for HBCUs as it is, right? They don't have enough money to offer because essentially as a descendant of freedmen, when you understand that the majority of freedmen still don't have degrees, when in 2021, you'll still find freedmen, descendant of freedmen, who are first generation college attendees.
Right.
That's a fact. That was
you
one
can't
of those.
expect you can't expect us to pay for college. Right. You can't expect us to know how to what's his Anthony Mackie's brother graduated from Morehouse. And he came when I was there. They have something called Crown Forum. It's on Tuesdays or Thursdays. And it's at King Chapel, Martin Luther King Chapel. And it's they bring speakers in from all over the country and they talk to the students. And it's like a seminar, almost like a TED Talk. And he talked about how when he first got to, they're from New Orleans or some part of Louisiana. And he said when he first got to Morehouse, he couldn't even read. He couldn't read at all.
A high school graduate.
And so, right, he was at Morehouse.
You're right.
and these are the kind of situations where now I don't know if a person who couldn't read could get into Morehouse. You only needed at the time I got in a 22, minimum 22 on your ACT to get into the school, and I think a minimum of a 2.5 GPA, which is low when you compare it to PWI universities. But when you compare that to HBCUs, that's an exponentially high number. Both of those, right? There are some, I forget which HBCU. I think the ACT requirement was a 12.
Yeah. Hey, right? So still, like what you're saying, that's facts, and it's tied to the history. Like even at my school, I'll say some of the students that we received, these was like freedmen children who basically were given almost like a second chance in society, like had a record in Chicago or in Detroit. And they like, it was a small misdemeanor thing, you know what I'm saying? But it was still something where they came to the school. Some of them, you know how it is on HBCU campuses. Some of them ain't going to make it because they still got the mentality where they came from. Like, no, can't read, you know what I'm saying? Not really active in the class, but at the same time distracted by those outside things that you shouldn't even bring on campus. And we see it on countless campuses where you'd be like, damn, is this what you're going to school for? Or is this, you know what I'm saying? I feel like HBCUs give those type of freedmen the opportunity to go to school similar to what it was for the slaves.
You know what? Actually, let me just make sure I understand this, and I'm going to look it up. Are you guys saying that the academic rigor bar is much lower at HBCUs?
Yeah, for sure.
It is.
In my central state, they accepted a lot of students from Chicago, and like the minimum GPA was like a 2.0. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of folks got in on that. And that influences the quality of your students too. So hey.
And see, I think that's a good thing because we understand the situation, even in Detroit, right? The students who attended high school and middle school and elementary school in Detroit were suing the state, and the state was pushing back, arguing that, I forget which amendment to the Constitution it was, but that they were not required to teach you to read. That was not a requirement of the state. That was what the state was arguing. It was 6 or 7 students were suing the state because they graduated from high school, had gone through school through Detroit, and they couldn't read. And so we need these black institutions, these freedmen's institutions, to live up to the missions that they were founded on, which is educating freedmen. But like I'm saying, with Howard, with Morehouse, with Tuskegee, with Spelman, these places would rather have the top university for black males in Newsweek than have the recognition of their community for being impactful. Right? You'd rather look good than be good. You'd rather look impactful than be impactful. And so, like I said, I wear this hat in kind of a tongue-in-cheek way because I have a kind of it's a very touchy relationship with Morehouse because I had a lot of hopes that going there would open my doors up, that I could have the kind of relationship I have with you brothers at an educational institution of all black men, where we could just come together and really try to do positive things for our community. And that place could really be like an incubator for that kind of movement, that kind of social movement.
It existed that's there, but just like us, it's just a small niche. So you probably weren't getting that exposure. You know what I'm saying?
And there was a lot of good dudes there that I met, some that I still keep in contact with. I don't really get on social media, so that makes it difficult. But I met a lot of good guys there. But I mean, it's unfortunate that our institutions, and this is something that we find with freedmen, and it's a consequence of our condition, right? James Baldwin talked about it in The Fire Next Time after he went to visit Elijah Muhammad, right? We are a people who are born in a country where our perspective of success and failure are the symbols that we see around us. And so as a condition of that, we look at our own success as we measure our own success relative to how able we are to attain those same, and he called them totems, that they're able to obtain, right? And so discounting our condition, it does a disservice to our general mission for overall uplift and overall benefit, right? Because you can't expect a descendant of freedmen who has never been made whole to be able to compete by and large with people who haven't had that constraint on their lives, so.
Right. And that's one of the main reasons why we even, touched this subject, because, in the pushback to reparations, you kind of always hear, education is the key. We need education. We need education. We're here, for all intents and purposes, the people who, the freedmen who get on these campuses or what have you, they're doing, quote unquote, the right thing. But, but the system is corrupt. The system is jacked because we never have been made whole. We don't have the money in order to be able to function in this society. Because in what normally would happen, what happens at the PWIs is that you have the endowments, right, from the alumni, and those who made it successful to be able to give back to the school and donate to the school, and the endowments is people, those who are less fortunate are able to get scholarships and so on and so forth. You have either the sports teams, right, through football and basketball, right, they're able to through the contracts with television, and so on and so forth.
You're talking about the people who play on the teams at the HBCUs?
No, well, I'm saying because we've been locked out of that. Right, the HBCUs have been locked out of that type of TV access to have their games on regular and get those contracts as leagues. Right, they're locked out of being able to compete with the PWI's institutions, like all the things that support private, support higher education, post-secondary education.
Yeah, that money, those revenue streams.
Those revenue streams, right?
Right.
We don't, because all in all, black people as a whole have been locked out. Therefore, we've been locked out of being able to generate wealth. And therefore, you know what I'm saying, all of the subsequent things that go along with that, we see the result of, and you know,
Right.
we have these problems or what
So-
have you. And so reparations is the answer. That's the only way to deal with this, you know.
And so it's interesting because let's continue to talk through this real quick. I just scrolled down in the article, the NPR article we're using as the as the ignition point for this particular part of the show. But Howard's Board of Trustees responded saying that they hear the students and they will continue to work and work and welcome the viewpoints as they try to fix the issues on campus. The sit-in reinforces the fact that hearing from a much wider group of students on a consistent basis is not necessary, but it's critical. And that's all gravy. And you got some people on Twitter giving some examples and talking about this and super applauding and supporting the students. You know, the Twitter sphere, the Black Twitter sphere has been very supportive of the students. And, you know, that's not a bad thing. But let's look at something else here, right? It's not just been Black Twitter, right? We also have another group of individuals who've gotten involved in terms of this situation at Howard. And so CNN reported that Black leaders are rallying around Howard University students to protest against the poor living conditions on campus. Now, who are these Black leaders? Because, you know, we got to ask and we got to be very particular about who they think are the people who are representing the Black community, right? So this article from CNN goes on to say that Black leaders are rallying around Howard University students who have been protesting these living conditions. It goes on to say that the National Bar Association, for instance, a network of predominantly Black attorneys and judges, released a statement to CNN on Friday condemning the living conditions and called on Howard University administration to create a plan for remedial measures to ensure the safety of students. Yeah. That's really good, National Bar Association. So they went on and quoted some of the students as Jasmine Roof, a sophomore at Howard and spokesperson for the Blackburn Takeover, the hashtag movement, said students have experienced mold growth in their dorms, bugs crawling on the shower ceilings, et cetera, et cetera. More of that goes on in this article where they explain this stuff. But here's where it gets very, very interesting. We keep scrolling down and we see that some civil rights leaders are backing Howard students in their protests as well, beyond the National Bar Association. Here, Martin Luther King III, the eldest son of Reverend Martin Luther King Jr., has stated, "I am both disappointed to hear the concerns of students at Howard University and yet proud of them for their bravery throughout this entire peaceful sit-in. Historically, students and young people have been the life force for many movements, including ones led by my father." Then the NAACP president, Derek Johnson, said in a statement that the Howard students were performing a courageous act. And, you know, it's interesting. DC council member, help me out, Genesee Lewis George? Genesee?
Yeah, I don't know. Janice,
maybe. Janice.
I don't know.
Janice,
Yeah, that look like
Janice.
You know, Janice.
Yeah, well, she says that these students are change makers. Listen, this is where I got to stop, y'all. This is where my thing is. My thing is this. You got all these supposed civil rights leaders, community leaders, political leaders who are speaking out to support these students in their pushback against basic ass conditions in Howard University, the premier or one of the premier HBCUs. No one is bothering to publicly ask a question about why in the world the school is even in this position, that they have such deplorable conditions. I don't know of any university that's worth its salt, like we claim Howard is, that has had an article like this come out and they not been able to flip it on its head quicker than this. Like these PWIs don't run into this type of stuff very often, but when it happens with us, our own so-called leaders come out and supported the students instead of looking for the root cause. Because at this point in time, when the students are protesting and running an entire hashtag campaign on social media and the news is getting involved, everything's out in the air. So you might as well go ahead and go for the gullet and say, hey, Howard doesn't have the right amount of money to do this properly. That's why they got into this place in the first place. So we need to start asking for money for Howard. But no, they want to run around and start trying to undercut the actual demand that we have economically for our entire community by saying that the students are doing a rightful thing by pushing back against the school with no fucking money.
Right, just an attaboy.
Right, and I, y'all know I like to look at numbers. That always helps for me to visualize and contextualize what we're talking about. So looking at Howard University, I just Googled Howard University's endowment is $712 million.
Ooh.
Okay. So it's a private university, and Google says the average cost after aid is $40,000 after aid. Well, so the total cost of attendance, estimated cost, is $48,000 per year undergrad.
Right.
Spelman is 43,000 per year. This is on campus.
Right.
43,000 per year. Morehouse.
That's more than the University of Michigan, I think.
It is.
Getting a mortgage on your
Michigan
education.
is only like 16. It is. I think Michigan is only like 16 in state. Living on or off campus at Morehouse, if you're a residential student, is $49,700. At Princeton is $52,000, but average cost after aid is $9,700.
Look up look what their endowments are for. Okay, you see
their endowment is in the billions.
The billions.
Their endowment is in the
Exactly.
billions. Harvard's average tuition is $51,000, and average cost after aid is $16,000. And then Yale is the most expensive university in America at $55,000, and average cost after aid is $19,000. And so this is what we're talking about. I believe Harvard has the highest endowment of $30 billion with the B. They have enough money that it might be Princeton has enough money that per student, their endowment averages to $1 million per student. University of Michigan's endowment went up by 47% over the last year. It's about $17 billion for the University of Michigan. And this is what we're seeing. Why aren't HBCUs able to invest their money in those same ways or take advantage of whatever its investment vehicles these PWIs are, or these brokerage firms or brokers that they're using and utilizing to benefit Black universities? There's a reason, right? And so the general theme that we've talked about is the accrued disadvantage. And one of the things, when I mentioned Martin Luther King, you talked about his son, Martin Luther King III. And this is related. It's not entirely exactly related, but look at that. Look at Florida A&M. Jeez, wow. That's
only 95.6.
Yeah.
But is this part? But it's part of the Florida State. I think it's part of the Florida State University system, right? Or no?
Not that I'm aware of.
I believe it is, but I may be
I mean, I'd be hopeful, but I'm not that I'm aware of.
Even
my older sister went to my older sister went to Florida Memorial in Opelika.
But even if go ahead, Stan, my bad.
Well, she went there. That's where they wrote the Black National Anthem. The professors there wrote it, and this is a real small. I mean, you never even hear about it. It's real small HBCU.
I was gonna say Darvell pulled up MSU and it was at 3.6 billion. So even with the money alone, you compare the education quality compared to what Florida A&M can offer. You know, that's where you see these, inequities.
I mean, listen, I look at my alma mater, it's only 1.6 billion, but I ain't never seen nothing like that. There. That's interesting.
And so one of the articles that I wanted to bring up, that was a big article in the Wall Street Journal book. I don't pay for Wall Street Journal. So it was a write-up in the Atlantic, and it was talking about how there is a decrease in males going to college. So it says...
Go ahead, speak on that one. Did you send me the link? I wanted to touch on the
I'll post it right. Yeah, well, I'll... You want to do the Jesse Jackson first?
Yeah, we'll pivot to the male thing.
Yeah,
let me just say
do that.
Okay,
first.
Hold on. This guy stopped playing. All right, so listen, this is one thing. So to the point that I spoke on in regards to, I see it. Thank you. In points I spoke on in regards to the again, civil rights leaders, Black political leaders, so quote unquote community leaders. These folks going out here and supporting the students. I'm not saying that the students should not have better conditions. I'm not saying that every dollar should be going toward having better conditions. But what I am saying is that this is a simple math game where all you got to do is say, oh, these students are paying this amount of money and you guys have these conditions, but you're supposed to be a school for us. You're an HBCU. If we really are about a community of HBCUs and the black community and the all the ski-wees and the sororities and fraternities, if we all tight knit and we fam, I should be able to, Jesse Jackson, NAACP, Urban League should be able to walk into the president's office at Howard and say, hey, let's talk about the books. Why are these rooms? Why are these conditions like this? Why is it that you can't send someone right now today and fix it? Instead, again, forget the bullshit. I forget my language because I'm getting a little frank because this is getting a little stupid.
Never apologize for cussing around me.
Never surrender either. Jesse Jackson urges Howard University students, protesters, to keep the hope alive. Again, they're protesting rightfully, but I think that the folks who are coming out to support them are not doing them justice by going around giving them a pat on the back, an attaboy. That is not how we deal with this. That is not directionally correct. So let's look at this. Let me get this out of here. Basically, Jesse Jackson comes down to Blackburn takeover to lend his support and for dialogue with the protest. This is a photo op, sir. You ain't did nothing. Jackson meets with students in the Blackburn Center, which has become ground zero for the protest. Here's Reverend Jackson again with most students. What is he telling them about how to resolve the issue other than just stand in here and keep standing? What is he saying? He's
showing them how to play the game, which is it's the photo ops and the illusion of fighting for when you really ain't fighting the system or changing the events from occurring again. Bro. So that's the situation.
Whoever Chuck Modi is, we got all sorts of non-black people reporting on this stuff for us. Thank God somebody hears us. The students, their morals are boosted. Reverend Jackson came to pray over us, uplifting Howard student protester reaction to tonight's visit by Reverend Jackson.
They spelled pray wrong. They meant Prey, but yeah, you got it. You got it.
What did he say? What did he?
He's saying Jesse Jackson's praying on the students. Praying, but
see, and you brought up. Well, sorry.
No, go ahead.
Well, you brought up a good point about all these different groups, right? Howard is the home of the AKAs. That's where they came from. That's where they were founded. The Deltas were founded at Howard. The Omega Psi Phi fraternity was founded at Howard University. And who is an AKA? The number 2 most powerful person in the free world.
She used Howard
Auntie
to get her
Ski-Wee.
Oh yeah,
Auntie Ski-Wee.
We're gonna talk about that.
She used it
and she went to Howard.
Exactly.
So where is she at?
Exactly.
She was all in the dorm spaces with the band dancing and
Oh wow, that's crazy.
Dancing stiff as hell, walking down the hall, wearing her chucks, making me sick to my stomach. Desecrating Chuck Taylors like that, and not a peep.
They ain't even gonna hold it to the fire.
You can't go tell your Uncle Joe to fix this.
So let me hit this because this is you getting it right there. I gotta roll with this for a second because I'm looking at all these posts on the News One. News One's reporting on it. Blackburn students take over. I'm loving it. Town hall for the students. Man, what the hell is this? This is like BLM started giving them cookies and now they doing all sorts of ass backwards self gratification stuff. It's like I ain't got nothing nice to say. Let me be quiet. All right. Okay, we're doing a healing center right now. And what are the demands? The demands. Oh, I got the demands. Let me go over here. Let's pop over here, y'all. I got the demands before we go into this best part of this. And again, this is no shade on saying living conditions shouldn't be better. We're saying that there's a lot of praying, as they said, going on here. What happened here? There were some demands listed. Wait a minute. No, this is the no. I was trying to see more posts. I seen the demands. Where are the demands? They better be. Demands should be front and center, y'all. Where are the demands? The movement live. Where are the demands at? 21 days. Blackburn takeover. Okay, yes, sure, fine. You know me.
I ain't got no demands that look like.
But that's the problem. Familiar. Even what Jesse Jackson said, it's not a legal issue, it's a moral issue. when you got mold in your joint, it got to be a bit of a legal issue too, huh? I live here.
Right.
It's got to be a bit of a legal issue.
Especially
And that's when you take it from that perspective, you're basically trying to obscure the university from having any liability. When you talk about, oh, it's not a legal issue. Oh, that's the TikToker right there with the to
It's
the
almost
right.
like they're making it like it's an
The
act
girl
of
with the
God or
mask
something.
on. You had to go look at it, man.
Oh, this one?
Not this.
No,
the other one.
One up to the right. Yeah, that one. Yeah. If you could click on that, that was hilarious.
Hey, Morehouse. I was there, 13 years ago.
The red buns, the lines.
Morehouse didn't look. Spelman looked nicer than this, but Spelman looked more like this. Morehouse didn't look nowhere near this nice, bro.
The water that comes out with the lemonade, the vegetarian section, the empty stations, the missing condiments.
Yeah, and guess what? Sodexo is a major corporation as far as food providers on all HBCUs, but the quality of that Sodexo is dependent upon that budget. So that's
exactly.
And that's why at the HBCU I went to, we didn't have a Pizza Hut, all of these different restaurants. We had the Calf, one other spot, and like the Calf had like a special mix-up sometimes because the school did get like a budget cut by the time we went there, 2012 to 2016. But all of that being said, like again, that budget is important and shit. It does play a part in the experience.
I'm wondering how much is going to the faculty, because in any school, administration is always the top paid, at a university. So how much is this being eaten up?
It's not a lot because at HBCUs, the teachers aren't being offered what they offer them at a private white institution. And so at HBCUs, sometimes some of the top talented professors will eventually leave that school and say, look, it's about the money, and opportunities.
Cornell West brought that up. Somebody said, why don't you teach? When he was having his dispute with Howard, they said, why don't you, Harvard or not Harvard, Princeton. When he was having a dispute with one of them schools, they said, why don't you teach at a HBCU? And he said, they don't pay well enough in so many words.
Right.
And
now, all right.
And just like Chris is saying, though, these schools require you, Morehouse too. They require you to live on campus as a freshman. You're paying $40,000, $50,000.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? You're not able to leave, even if you transfer in. Your first year, you got to live up. So they're preying on their students too.
You know what? Back up. Did I have to live on campus? I don't think I did, because there was a ton of students at my school who were locals who didn't have to live on campus. They stayed at home.
Yeah, that's
you ain't have to live on campus.
Yeah, that's if there's like when USF, I went to USF, University of South Florida, and we were considered a commuter school. We were like, I think 10th in population, the overall school population, but everyone, traveled in, travel into school or what have you. Then they started making like towards the last few years that I was there, that became a requirement. They wanted the freshmen to live into the dorms, but then you paying those packages and all that money. I was lucky enough. I came in as a junior. I transferred as a junior. I was living off campus. There was no way I was going to. I saw those packages that they had there. I'm like, this is just wasn't a good value for money, man. At the end of the day.
So, all right. So I got some icing on the cake, yo. Listen, this is the real crazy part, okay? This is the problem, yo. This is what I'm talking about. This is White House builds bridges with one of the Black community's most powerful groups. Biden administration intensifying its outreach to historically Black fraternities and sororities known as the Divine Nine. Now, this was dropped just in late October. They met at the beginning of October, on October 6th, this year. And listen, formerly known as the National Pan-Hellenic Council, the Divine Nine represents 9 historically Black fraternities and sororities and their alumni. Here's what kills me. It is arguably the most powerful organization in the Black community.
Yeah.
But we can't have mold.
I'm
mold and bad lunchrooms, and cafeterias or and HBCUs.
I mean, in a way, they are correct though. They talking about the highest income of the Black community, the most skilled and educated.
But I mean, if you tell me that, and we still okay, hold that, Ernest, hold that. I need to calm down, but this is crazy. And until now, they've largely been an untapped resource for administrations looking to connect with Black voters. Okay, whatever. The Biden White House is trying to change that, intensifying its outreach to the group as it scrambles to reassure a crucial voting bloc, that's us apparently, that is growing increasingly unhappy with the lack of progress on its core issues. It's because y'all don't intend to have any progress. Okay, now to our point earlier, the Divine Nine boasts 2.5 million members worldwide, including some of the most influential and powerful Black people in the country, and the Biden administration itself, including Vice President Kamala Harris, Housing and Urban Development Secretary Marcia Fudge, and the House Majority Whip Jim Clyburn, a leading Biden ally in Congress. So here's what kills me. We've been at this for quite a while and have had people in so many seats on those political tables for years. And we know that makes a huge difference in terms of making sure your voice is significant in terms of what it could do. Said Beverly Smith, current national president of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. So it's the start of discussion with this administration, but it's the work the Divine Nine has been doing since its inception. You're telling me that the Divine Nine has been doing this work of sitting down with administrations since your inception. That brings to question how effective you have been at this work you've been doing. Same thing as the CBC and everybody else who was named as supporting different elements of the Howard University students sit in. We talking about all these folks who've been doing the work. And I will say for at least I'm being very conservative the last 10 years. It's been pretty clear what needs to be done. Although this goes back over 100 years, that there is no escaping our accrued disadvantage without a formal, fully fleshed out end-to-end reparations program, including funding the endowments of our HBCUs, which lead to the problems that we started off this show with. The underfunding, the under-endowment of our HBCU Howard. So now we're talking about one of these Divine Nine organizations. No shade on them. I think they do good community work. But this right here, this statement that y'all been sitting in these seats for years, I got a question. What in the hell have you actually accomplished sitting in these seats that has had anything to do with transformative generational addressing of our problematic state in this country? Like, especially if you tell me that they've been arguably the most powerful organization in the Black community, and you say that they have all this money and all this influence and millions of people, how do we have over 1 million strong people in the Divine Nine, and we have one very specific goal we need to attain in the Black agenda that's core to our own future, and these people have not even been talking about it, and now we're saying that they've been involved in this for years and they've been doing this work? Like, I don't understand how so many people are checked out on reparations if they've been doing this work.
Well, that Our Kind of People book is really a good eye-opening book. We maybe should do like a book thing with it, where we just kind of all read it together and kind of go over it. It is eye-opening because it does talk about the Black elite society and how they do things. And this is kind of the same way we talked about the HBCUs and how there's kind of a class system within it. It's the same with the Divine Nine, because really there are only 5 of the Divine Nine that actually are really highly regarded. That's the Alphas, the Omegas, the Kappas, the Deltas, and the AKAs. The other 4 are kind of like, okay, yeah, y'all fraternities and sororities too, but it's like whatever. And that's the truth. So you have this division even among these organizations that are supposed to be all together. I don't know. I would say for the uplift of the Black community, because that's not their objective. But even for the benefit of their own small elite excluded group, there's a secondary exclusion among those. And so that's what you see. It's just like when Du Bois talked about the talented 10th, right? And a lot of people they look at that and they still hold that in some regard. But what a lot of people don't know is that as he got older, he realized that his idea of the talented 10th being the 10% of black people or descendants of freedmen who had intelligence or who had education or power or influence could positively impact the other 90% of blacks. He realized that the talented 10th were too self-serving and greedy to ever be able to do what was necessary of them to benefit the masses of us. They forget to, or they choose to disregard that part of the talented 10th ideology.
I'll say they definitely got the power. It's just how they using the sword and how they trying to choose to apply pressure. Like you said, it's probably for selfish means, but we know they got the power because the amount of black people that you think these organizations influence by the time an election come, understand that it is just enough to influence the election in multiple cities and states. And that's the Pearls and Chucks and all of that. Those campaigns, think about how many black women voted just on the essence of all of the sororities who supported a particular candidate. And that's the reality. So they do have the power that we looking for them to apply towards reparations. You know what I'm saying? But it's always being applied in the democratic liberal form of fashion. And that's what the sororities and black organizations at large, like the NAACP, sold out, is that they just ultimately fell into the democratic platform rather than having the freedman platform.
And then the irony, they will use their existence as an example of why we don't need reparations. Exactly. Oh, there's rich black people too.
Yeah.
And that's part of the danger, right? That's part of the danger when you allow these groups, like, again, no shade, but for real, like, y'all can't go in there, claim you're doing the work and been doing the work, and I don't have you listed on none of the agendas for anything so much as the ADOS conference, all the way over to any of the demands for justice that we should have had last summer. That should have been extremely clear. You should have released statements saying priority number 1 is transformative tangibles. But what are they talking? I mean, let me put it this way, like you said, Ernest, if they were doing that, we would have heard about it. You can't just, like, millions of people. We got Chucks and Pearls. We picked that up on social media.
Not only that, when the things that was happening that we felt mattered most to our community, these organizations were quiet, even though it made the news. They knew. Just like this made the news, and then it blew up. They was like, this is something we can get behind. Maybe we just pat them on the back, tell them do this and that, and then it's going to look good for me, and then it's going to, increase my profile. But like when it's something like, hey, did y'all hear about what Ice Cube was doing in this Freedman noise and this ADOS noise that's going on? Nobody showed up to take a picture and get that cameo except for Cornel West or fucking, some of the economists from these actual colleges and institutions. But none of these divine nines, nobody who's a big fish. That's the problem.
And this does relate to that article that I posted from the Atlantic. A little bit better now, even more than before, although they were still linked. Because what it shows is what happens when representation is off. Right. So specifically, when you look at the American higher education, the article is in Atlantic. It says colleges have a guy problem. It's by Derek Thompson. And it says a recent viral news story reported that a generation of young men is abandoning college. The pattern has deep roots. American colleges and universities now enroll roughly 6 women for every 4 men. This is the largest female-male gender gap in the history of higher education, and it's getting wider. Last year, U.S. colleges enrolled 1.5 million fewer students than 5 years ago. The Wall Street Journal recently reported men accounted for more than 70% of the decline. The statistics are stunning, but education experts and historians aren't remotely surprised. Women in the United States have earned more bachelor's degrees than men every year since the mid-'80s. Every year, in other words, that I've been alive. This particular gender gap hasn't been breaking news for about 40 years, but the imbalance reveals a genuine shift in how men participate in education, the economy, and society. The world has changed dramatically, but the ideology of masculinity isn't changing fast enough to keep up. Now, the reason that's pertinent, it's a lot of different levels, but for the freedman perspective, right? When we understand the world and the way the world changes through the lens of the college degree, right? When you look at, let's say you look at the media, look at CNN, look at MSNBC. Think of the black reporters that you know of, the black male reporters on CNBC or CNN or MSNBC. I can think of Bakari Sellers. He went to Morehouse. That's unfortunate. Don Lemon. Charles
Lemonade
Blow.
Man.
Right. That other guy, I forget his name, with the bald head on CNN. That's 4 I can think of off the top of my head. Of those 4 men that I just named, I believe 3 of those men are homosexuals. Right? And so what happens is they present the news in a way that covers their perspective of life. It has nothing to do specifically with their sexual practices or preferences, but it has to do with the way they see the world and the way they view what is important to talk about to their community. And so when you have elite groups of people who claim to speak for us, freedmen, but they belong to these Divine Nine organizations, or they've attended elite universities, or they've, they come from these backgrounds that are rooted in, like I talked about, these our kind of people lifestyles. What are they telling the world about us? Right? Just like we talked about, and you heard Yvette Carnell has talked about with the Cosbys. What are you telling the world about the average freedman family when you see Don Lemon, when you see Charles Blow, when you see what's his name? I forget his name, or Bakari Sellers? What are they telling the world about us, specifically as black men, but as black people? And then you think about Angela Rye and April Ryan. You think about what's her name? Donna Brazile. You think about all those black women who are in positions of prominence, and how long-term the issue of college has already negatively affected the black community, because black men have significantly lower college graduation outcomes. I had a statistic. I forget, but even when we talked about with the Dave Chappelle episode with David Johns, who ran the Black Justice, Coalition, National Black Justice Coalition. He's a gay man. Now he runs the National Black Justice Coalition, but his first action that I've ever heard him take was for to call speak out against Dave Chappelle, because he told jokes I remember that people think are offensive to the trans community. This is what we're talking about. The NAACP, they'll come out and they'll speak against issues at the border or for illegal immigrants or migrants, or however you want to look at it, but they have completely lost their mission of dealing with issues pertinent to freedmen communities.
I think,
and so these are the issues we have. Even when they talk about, they say, "Oh, we need diversity and inclusion." So when you see a person like Lena Waithe in Hollywood, right? She works in Hollywood. This is coincidental that she also happens to be a lesbian. I'm not targeting anybody. It's just coincidental. But they pick these people. They are black people for all intents and purposes. But their backgrounds, where they maybe went to high school or university, is no different from the white people. So you're diverse in skin color, but your social group is their social group. So there's no true diversity. That's why when I say that representation doesn't matter, because it isn't representation. You don't want a person like one of us in there to actually bring a perspective of that will confront your belief, something that will bring truth to the situation, that will say this doesn't make sense, this is not important, this is not just, this is not good enough. You want somebody who generally shares your point of view.
Stan, I think it's important that we saying that we stick with that one point that you just made, which was we're not being represented the right way because people are going for the things that they want, which is ultimately like what the main society wants, and so to say. And so when we're looking at a lot of things that should be done for our community, folks usually tend to look at what does the main society want first, and that's what gets us into the situation that we're in today when we're talking about what's going on at the border and potentially some compensation, aka reparations, going to some individuals who we wanted to talk about.
Yeah, so
great way to segue into that.
Yeah, we need to pivot into that, and yeah, it's woo. All right, y'all, let's go ahead and get out of this one and go to the next one. And then we gotta talk about some Detroit stuff because I heard some numbers are coming in. Gerard, don't tell us nothing yet, but we got numbers coming in.
Yep.
All right, let me see. Don't give away anything. So listen, man. Y'all know anybody yet?
When the results come in, cue up that the Price is Right, that so we can all be disappointed and have something to laugh about.
Don't say that, dog. Quit, be quiet. We're not talking about that.
Come on.
All right. Listen, man. What's going on down at the border, Gerard?
Oh, yeah. So we got the U.S. in talks to pay hundreds of millions to families separated at the border. Government is considering payments of $450,000 per person affected by Trump's administration's zero tolerance policy in 2018.
Ooh, that's a lot.
So, yeah. So the Biden administration is in talks to offer immigrant families that were separated during the Trump administration around $450,000 a person in compensation. According to people familiar with the matter, several agencies work to resolve lawsuits filed on behalf of the parents and children who say the government subjected them to lasting psychological trauma. Lasting psychological trauma. That was happened in 2018. We're in 2021, so that was just 3 years ago. What about the trauma to the descendants of freedmen have gone under? We need studies for that, right? That can't even get passed in Congress with a quote unquote democratic government all the way through.
You know what's interesting is holding on to that going back to the people who we just talked about representing us that Stedman just spoke on. We got Sheila Jackson Lee holding that bill. You got your boys in there with the CVC. Everybody up in there right now, including the Democrats. Why ain't the bill out on the floor for a vote?
By now it's on the vote. Yeah, exactly. Why can't we get a vote on it?
What's going on with that? It didn't come out. And I remember going and looking at the history of the bill, and it said, oh, it was recommended, or the decision was made for it to go out with the edits that were made in the last committee meeting, and it's supposed to go out with urgency to the floor for a vote. She ain't done nothing. She lied. She gone.
So Sheila Jackson had a meeting with in Cobra recently, and they talked about how they were going to make the push in November to pass HR 40, at least on the House floor, and they're not too sure what will occur in the Senate. Now, despite all of that, fighting for the issues that matter most for Black Americans is still something that can happen outside of reparations. And that's the thing that we're looking at today, is where they would basically use this as the carrot to dangle over our head versus actually doing things that could actually change our position right now. And so I do have 2 videos I want to play, guys, to kind of set the tone for this.
Okay.
And I think it's perfect, but it's definitely going to it's going to talk about compensation and reparations, because one thing is for sure is that they've already known that they were going to pay these immigrants reparations in 2019 when they had the Democratic debates. And the specific question was posed to Pete Buttigieg about, do you support reparations for families separated at the border? And he gave the answer, yes, he does. And then right after that, they posed the question, do you support reparations for African Americans? Posed the question to him, and they posed the question to Joe Biden. Joe Biden, I would say, is a straight shooter politician because his answer is reflecting what he's doing today as it relates to the Black American community.
So we got videos of that?
Yep.
Oh, yeah, boy, man, give me them links.
Sorry, so this is what I'm gonna do.
You gonna share it?
Yeah, I'm a. Now let me send it to you. I can drop it in yours.
Send it to me. Send it to me.
Yeah.
So while we do that, we could just go over it. So the dollar amounts remain under discussion. But one person with knowledge in the negotiation said payouts could total $450,000 per person, with some families potentially receiving $1 million. Now, mind you, the totals that Dr. Darity talked about each family, not person, but family getting, based on his configurations, was somewhere as $850,000 per family, which would attune to anywhere between 12 to 17 trillion. These negotiations are not happening on Congress. U.S. government took more than 3,000 children away from their parents along the Mexican border between May and June. That's only a couple of months of 2018. That's May and June. That's just 2 months.
That's 2 months.
2 months.
It might not even be 2 full months.
Right, exactly. We went through 265 years of slavery plus 100-something of Jim Crow and everything else that's happened. The peak of Trump's zero tolerance prosecution effort. Department of Homeland Security officials say the total number taken while Trump was in office exceeds 5,500. In most cases, the children were separated from their parents by border agents and sent to government shelters. Go ahead, guys. You want to hit the videos? I think we got the videos now, right?
Yeah, so Darvell, that first link, we can play that one all the way through. Is Pete Buttigieg's response. And then, Buttigieg, that's his name. Buttigieg's response. And then, what's the second one? The second one going to be Joe Biden's response on it, but we're going to jump to 126 on the second video. So if you
all right, let me go ahead and get this one popping for the people. Fair use.
Hey, and let me say this: fair use, but also this is just to show you they already know what's going on when it comes to our community. The fact that Black organizations aren't taking the steps to hold their ass to the fire shows us where we're at politically, and it shows us that yes, there is a certain class that is accustomed to a certain treatment they've been receiving from the government, while the rest of us are struggling. So,
you said it, bro. You said it right there. Let's go ahead and see what Pete got to say on this one, bro.
Mayo Pete.
Say what this? You said, hold on.
Mayo Pete. Fair use.
All right. Let's hit it.
Mayor Buttigieg, a new question to you, Mr. Mayor. You said last month that the U.S. owes compensation to children separated from their families at the southern border. The consensus among child welfare experts is that those thousands of children will likely suffer lifelong trauma as a result of that separation. Are you committing, as president, to financial compensation for those thousands of children?
Yes, and they should have a fast-track citizenship. Because what the United States did under this president to them was wrong. We have a moral obligation to make right what was broken. And on the larger issue of immigration, my understanding of this issue isn't theoretical.
Hey, Darvell, you got some background noise.
Washington. It begins with the fact that my household, my family, came from abroad. My father immigrated to this country and became a U.S. citizen. It comes from the fact that I'm the mayor of a city where neighborhoods that were left for dying are now coming back to life, largely because of the contributions, mainly of Latino immigrants. And I've seen those same neighborhoods shut down, families huddling in church, panicking just because of the rumor of an ICE raid. That did not make our country safer.
Could I respond?
Had to look into the eyes of an 8-year-old boy whose father was deported, even though he had nothing so much as a traffic ticket against his name, and try to think of something to tell that boy, because I couldn't tell him what he most wanted to hear, which is just that he was going to have his dad back. How can harming that young man possibly make America safer?
Mr. Mayor,
when I am president, based on those experiences, I will make sure that this is a country of laws and of values. And that means not only ending these unspeakable, cruel practices at the border, but finally and truly fixing the immigration system that has needed a full overhaul since the 1980s. We
Mr. Mayor.
cannot wait 4 years, 10 years. We cannot wait anymore to do
Thank you,
something
Mr. Mayor.
about this.
Just to follow up, since you do support compensation for those families, should the U.S. also compensate descendants of enslaved people? Do you support reparations for African Americans?
I support H.R. 40, which is the bill that has been proposed in Congress to establish a commission to look at reparations. But we shouldn't wait for that commission to do its work to do things that are reparative. Remember, we're not talking about a gift to anybody. We're talking about mending what was broken. We're talking about the generational theft of the wealth of generations of African Americans. And just crossing out a racist policy and replacing it with a neutral one is not enough to deliver equality. Harms compound, just like a dollar saved in its value compounds over time. So does the value of a dollar stolen. And that is why the United States must act immediately with investments in minority-owned businesses, with investments in health equity, with investments in HBCUs, and on the longer term, look at reparations so that we can mend what has been broken.
All right, so what y'all think about the first video? Now, I feel like Pete's answer was at least way, like a little bit on point as far as we don't even really need to do the study because we're talking about repairing generations of wealth that was stolen from another group. And to do that, we're talking about some forms of compensation, long-term or short-term. But I didn't like how he ended it with the standard minority. What does the mainstream want message? But he was on the right path, though. Now,
if he ever become president, I'm moving. I'm leaving this country.
Now, I would feel like a candidate like him because he addressed both. Well, even with us, he still said he only supporting HR 40, right? Like, and in all realities, you supporting the bill to study when you just admitted out your mouth that we already know what has happened because of the generational wealth being stolen and Americans actually being crippled from that shit. But apparently that's not a priority. Now, if you play this second video and start at 126, watch what Biden say.
Oh, yeah.
Now, hey, is my audio good right now, y'all?
I watched it live.
Yeah,
I know what it's going to be. His answer to reparations.
Oh, you said, yeah, you gave me that link. Thank you, sir. You gave me the link with the timestamp.
You know, I think it's telling how adamant he was about how the damage was done to migrant children and how you know, he had to look at him to an 8-year-old boy eye and tell him his dad was deported. like it's a clip, man. I might try to find it and send it to y'all. When Dave was talking about how in the 80s, you know, when the black people was getting thrown in jail for crack, like everybody was just laughing and making jokes. And now that it's, you know, a heroin or opioid epidemic, it's like this is a public health crisis. And it's like, bro, how many black people been put in jail and families been torn apart? And children have continued that cycle of destruction because their parents were put in prison or their mothers or fathers were strung out and they were put in homes, right, where they were abused, and don't nobody give a shit. And I'm supposed to care because somebody broke the law and came to the country illegally. Now, we can talk about why they came here and how U.S. imperialism destabilized where they came from. But, like, don't act like, come on now, don't act like I can't go to Mexico and do that shit.
Hey, go to 126, Darville.
Roly poly. Fair use, fair use.
Fair use, and forget some roly polies. Let's go.
I mean, since I haven't spoken on this, got a chance. Number one, the reason we're the country we are is because of immigration. We've been able to cherry pick the best from every single continent. The people who come here have determination, resilience. They are ready to stand up and work like the devil. We have 24 out of every 100 children in our school today is Hispanic. The idea that we are going to walk away and not provide every opportunity for them is not only stupid and immoral, but it's bad for America. They are the future of America, and we should invest in them. Everybody will benefit from it, every single American, and you should get used to it. This is a nation of immigrants. That's who we are. That's why we're who we are. That's what makes us different, and we should invest in it.
Julian, we know your party doesn't always
That's
do
it
so
right
well
there.
on questions of race, so I'm not.
And that's it right there.
But
Now-
no, the key part though that we missed out was that he was being asked a question about reparations. Had
That was
nothing
his
to do-
answer. Yeah,
Right.
that was the
his
answer.
answer.
Yeah.
He
had
almost
nothing-
spit his
he
teeth
wasn't-
out talking about Mexicans, bro.
Well,
Right.
we didn't get the part when the question was asked.
No,
we missed
go
that
go
part.
to 125. That's because she said right, because you got to catch it right when Pete Buttigieg is Buttigieg is in.
Oh, she pivoted and just asked
Yeah,
him what
she
does
said
he think.
right.
So same question to you. You can see said
Oh, okay.
Biden,
That's how it went down.
reparations.
So here's what he said. Here's another thing. He said two things that was great. He said two things that was beautiful. He said we can cherry pick the brightest minds in the world, and that's what America does, right? This is what they don't
Important labor.
understand. This is what they don't understand. The Descendants of Freedmen are having to compete with some of the best, well-accessed, well-educated people in the world. We're not competing with people in our own social or educational class.
Exactly. And
We're
that's the
competing
main
against-
part right there.
And then he said, when they get over here, we can work them like dogs. He didn't say dogs. He said devils, but he wanted to say dogs, and he caught himself.
But see, here's
That's
also
the second
another
thing.
Here's another thing, a part of the problem. Black organizations will still back this agenda when it's literally saying we're going to prioritize another group of people over your own child and your own grandchildren's futures. And that's a problem politically.
I wanted the NPHC went in there and push back on that.
I mean, no, because
Of course not.
even right after, follow up, NAACP, Ed Gordon, they asked him the same question about reparations, and he said he switched it up then and said, "Let's do a study." But he said, "I don't know about cash payments because I don't know how much this will talk, so I want to see the numbers." So then they said, "If you got a feasible number, would that do it for you?" He said, "Well, that depends if it's including Native Americans."
Yeah.
That was the second time.
Right. Our justice, yeah. Our justice claim always have to be included everyone else on it. We have to be the mules for everybody else's
They ride our energy to get through their gate and then they leave us outside.
Right. But when they're talking about repair for their specific things, there's never any including. Well, you know what? If we're going to give $450,000 to people that were separated at the border, only a few that happened just a few years ago. We must include, the Black Americans or the freedmen in it. No, we don't get that talk.
So look at this. This was in 2019. He already made a commitment to support them. He also said that the Black American community had his back and that he was going to have our back. But that commitment isn't there, and that's the problem with the Democratic Party, like always.
And then if you take the recordings that leaked out when he met with the Black civil rights leaders, where he basically told them that, hey, you need to get with the Hispanics because they're already outnumbering you all, so on and so forth. So that was the cherry on the top. That was meant for private conversation.
And they leaked it trying to get leverage, but then went back like lapdogs instead of constantly applying that pressure on some. Oh wait, you're not gonna get it to us. We're gonna just make sure every Black person in America talking about HR 40, and that's the issue.
And that is the issue. You see that we still don't have. I mean, this guy's advocating for paying. So look, these people are not citizens, so they didn't vote. So I mean, you lose even leverage in saying your vote matters, right? This undermines our last show yesterday. Go and vote, get your voice heard. None of these people even voting. You're trying to get them $450,000. They're not permanent residents. They're not temporary residents. They're not given refugee status. So they're taking this $450,000 and leaving, if they're getting it, right? How are we processing it? Where's the money coming from? Why aren't all migrants getting it? How come just these? Why aren't the Haitians getting it? Why are only these?
Ooh, that's a great question.
But no, see,
why is Biden doing this for during the Trump administration? Why is he paying? Remember, he talked about the sins of his father or sins of his grandfather. Why are you paying for the sins of a previous administration? There's so many things with this that we've had to hear when it comes to reparations. even the money, right? We need to reevaluate the numbers we're talking about. Because if they're entitled to $450,000 for what amounts to 2 months of pain and suffering, right?
You know what's funny?
For 2 months.
You know what's funny? A lot of reparationists online been testing out the argument, but a lot of boomers aren't able to stand against this one. It's almost the first time that people are hearing their parents and moms take a look at Joe Biden and say, "Y'all right, the message is clear." You know what I'm saying? 450,000, and you just was telling black people we just gotta work hard to get the education, but he finna shell out the money for somebody who they feel deserve the sympathy. And somebody said this online. They said it's almost like waiting on the phone for 30 minutes to be serviced, and then you knowing that somebody else can call in and within 1 minute be serviced. And that's the situation Black Americans are in America right now. Like, we waiting in line and nothing else is happening. You know what I'm saying?
Or better yet, here's another analogy we could go with. You know, it's that like when you go to like Cedar Point or Disney World, and you know you got the regular line, but you got the people who got the passes. They can just come on through.
Yeah, for sure. VIP pass and everything.
The VIP pass, they get right up on the line. They get right on the ride. You've been sitting up there waiting for 2-3 hours. These motherfuckers.
Wow,
that's exactly what it's like. That's
exactly what it feels like. All right,
so we need to go ahead and pivot into this elections thing.
Yeah, let's do that.
All right, people. We retweet, reshare. Hey, bro. Listen, what?
Get that horn sound effect ready because you're gonna be
I got it. I
done already took a sneak.
No. Stop.
He took a sneak.
Listen. I don't know, some over there cracking a beer. Y'all need to cut it out.
He took a sneak peek too.
Listen, quick. Listen. I'm trying to tell y'all something. What was I about to say? Hold on. Jeez, you made me forget. Reintroduce ourselves. We've been on here for a while. I'm Darvell. And then also, if you can share it again, because we got to talk about this. Now we're gonna be going ad nauseum. It's about to be another one. So let me pull this up.
Man, man.
Quit it, dog. Shut up. You know what? Get this. You done. We had to fix that, people. I'm so sorry. This guy gonna ruin the whole bus. He gonna ruin the bus. All right. So
people have already checked it out, Darvell. The results came out like at least 15-20 minutes ago. Drum roll.
Drum roll. That's what they play a drum before the firing squad too, you know. So
let me take a prediction. Let me take a prediction since saying, look, I'm gonna just say y'all still got the same lineup, same slate.
Don't say nothing. Just hold that.
That's a real guess. I ain't even typing over here.
Hold that thought. What am I hearing?
That's me in the background. That's Tammy were you doing the taps? The death squad, was that you?
Oh.
The drums. I thought I heard the start of it.
All right. Cut that out, whatever that is. So we only got 50. Whoa, hold on. Stop. Ixnay. Who is that?
It's enough to declare, man.
Who is it? Oh, you know what? I'm yelling at y'all. There's noise coming, and it was from my YouTube. I'm sorry.
Oh, okay.
I'm like, what is all that background noise? Hey man, calm down, Gerard. Quit. It's only 3% of precincts reporting. Listen, let's go through this. Cut it out. Listen.
All right.
All right.
What, bro?
Let's see here. City of Detroit. Mayor, City of Detroit.
Yeah.
Anthony Adams, 17,000. Mike Duggan, 57,000.
Yeah.
Woo. Clerk, City of Detroit. 19,000 for Denzel. Janice, 53,000. 53,000 to 19, 57 to 17.
Yeah.
City council at large. Let's see. Janae Ayers, 31,000. Nicole, 20,000. Mary, 34. Coleman A. Young Jr., 39. So for this one, was it Coleman and Mary?
Yeah, it might be. There's an article with the Detroit News that are saying it's still close. We might have to wait to see that one all the way out. We may not get that one until the end of the quarter.
Wow. What the fuck? What?
Well, I guess until the end, yeah. But that's they're saying that it's close. I mean, because right now it's only 15, right? 15% has
Yeah. It's only 15% of precincts.
Right, precinct reported. So we may not know. I mean, that's so right now Coleman's the head runner, Waters, but Ayers is not that far behind. Looks like Nicole is probably she's probably not going to make it as it currently stands. The mayor has already been the news. Detroit News have already declared Mayor Duggan the winner. Janice Winfrey is already the winner. They're not going to find any votes that's going to get make it tight.
What's up with them ballot measures?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Prop R and Prop S.
So S is no, which is cool, and R is yes.
Well, but again, that's
wait a minute.
Close,
it's not. It ain't that bad though. Like
Wow.
Now we got some work to do as far as what that looks like, right? But again, you said it, Gerard. Vague description. So now we got to hold them to the fire and say, here's what we were given. What does this look like? You know what I'm saying?
We got the mushrooms.
Yeah.
Right. The mushrooms.
You got your mushrooms.
You got the mushrooms.
The reparation task force passed. I think it's the jury's still out with proposal S with only 15%, and there's only a 5,000 margin right now ahead of time. So let's go down to the councils, right? The council members. So look like Latasha Johnson. I don't know. That's only 2,000 difference.
So they voted in the wife.
So Gabriella, the wife, got it. Yeah, apparently they didn't like Hector.
Team got it.
Well, they got the mayor. She had the mayor's endorsement.
Yeah.
Wonder what's going on.
Roy McAllister lost.
Oh, yeah. Let's see. When I first was looking at it, he was ahead. Callaway. I didn't know too much about District 2, District 6, District 7. District 1, Tate looks like he's ahead over La Rosa, which was the wife of the guy that was running for the mayor, right? In the primary.
Yeah, Jason Larsosa.
Yeah. So
that's good.
So it looks like Regina. Oh, that's close. That's close. We can't tell District 7 right now, based on what just came in. The Community Advisory Council. I don't even know anything about that. Oh, that's 7. Yeah, I didn't have 7. Police Commissioner, City of Detroit. Who's the write-in? There ain't nobody even ran for that.
Man, we should have ran.
This cat's like, man, write my name down 5 times. We good.
You don't even know who's the write-in. It's probably so many people.
They got 1,000 of them. Who?
Right.
Forget it.
I didn't really see a lot of coverage on the police commissioners. Cedric Banks was the one for mine for District 3. I don't know. I just obscure from voting because if I don't know, I'm not going to.
Okay. Willie Burton is mine. He's a pretty good dude.
Oh yeah,
I've seen him a couple times. Yeah, he's the one that got arrested at the. He got arrested at that. No, the police commissioner.
Yeah,
for District 5. He got arrested about the green light, the camera.
Right, because they didn't even know if they were using the technology to do facial recognition.
Yeah, the facial recognition technology. Yeah. Right, he got arrested for it at the hearing for it. So pretty good dude. I met him a couple times. I got his card. I want to try to get him on the show one of these days to try to talk to him. But as far as Prop E, so we're gonna start having probably come spring, maybe late March, early April, weather permitting. We're gonna start having a monthly Freedmen's Collective mushrooms drum circle. We're gonna have a drum circle and political organizing gathering. So
Here's an article,
out.
Darvell, if you want to look up, talk that kind of expands on Detroit mayors and what else is happening in other surrounding
All right. Let's keep
Detroit
that
news.
popping.
Had one.
All right, let me read this one. Crackhead activities. Detroit Mayor Mike Duggan has pushed past his opponent to win. What?
Yeah, man, I'm saying, like I said, the news already declared. I mean, that's a win, bro. Winfrey and Duggan, they won. There's no, they're not getting that margin cut down, man.
So Detroit Mayor Mike Duggan pushed past his opponent to win a third term, leading the state's largest city in one of the least surprising victories of the night. As early unofficial results roll in, the margins in Duggan's race against challenger Anthony Adams were such that the former deputy mayor had no chance of catching Duggan. The Detroit mayor race results came as Metro Detroit races are beginning to widen and residents await more detailed results on leadership races, the formation of a reparations committee, and several local millages. Among the races still taking shape, Dearborn Heights, and Hamtramck have the chance to elect their first Arab, American, and Muslim mayors, and Taylor could elect its first Latino mayor. In other elections in Detroit, Taylor and Romulus are taking place as certain city leaders remain under investigation by federal authorities. Did any of those folks get reelected? Got to double check. Pontiac, Royal Oak, and Sterling Heights could also see changes in leadership. Oh, we just kind of talk about, the statistics behind the mayoral race for Detroit. Basically, Adams, who was a deputy mayor under Kwame Kilpatrick, is the underdog in the race. Duggan has prioritized his campaign on creating one Detroit for everyone that will seek to revitalize neighborhoods, create affordable housing. Adams, a Democrat, had vowed to stay focused on the people of the city and criticized Duggan's focus on bringing the business into Detroit. Guys?
Yeah.
Y'all silent?
No, I'm here. So here's a good one. So with 55% of precincts reporting former state, this is dealing with the council. So this is the at large, right? So with 55%, 55% of precincts reporting former state Senator Coleman Young II and incumbent at large council member Janae Ayers were leading in the at large race. And see that changed, right, from what we just saw. Right, with 32% and 25% of the vote, respectively. Challenger Mayor Waters was close at Ayers' heels with 24%. She's actually eclipsed her based on what we just saw with the raw numbers coming out of the Detroit reporting. And the vote, and Nicole Small had 19% of the vote. Ayers, 39, was recently targeted by the FBI in an August raid of her home, while Waters, 66, pleaded guilty in May in 2010 to a misdemeanor charge of a filing of a false tax return and was sentenced later that year to 1 year of probation on claims she received a $6,000 Rolex watch from a Southfield jewelry store. Ayers and Waters are two of the four Democratic candidates looking to fill the two at-large seats. They joined on the ballot by former Detroit Charter Revision Commissioner Vice Chair Small, 41, and Young. Oh man, Young is only 38. Incumbent Detroit clerk Janice Winfrey was leading challenger Denzel Campbell in an attempt to serve her fifth term Tuesday night. She led Campbell 62 to 38%. First possibles in Metro Detroit. If you scroll that down, that's what I was. If you scroll down, so Dearborn, I guess Representative Abdullah Hamid, 31, would become Dearborn's first Arab American and Muslim mayor if he bests Gary, however you pronounce that last name. That's obviously Polish or something. A 66-year-old former Detroit Press and Guide editor and state representative with deep roots in the city. Nearly half of the city's 110,000 residents identifies as Arab American. That would be a sea change, if that's the case. If Dearborn actually hired, has I won't say hired, voted in a Muslim mayor.
Hey,
go ahead.
We pause right there. So half of the city's residents, 110,000, identify as Arab American. This is the direct result of importing that specific class that we was talking about And this is a result of the Afghani, Iran, Pakistani, whatever, people moving to a certain area. Their group will ultimately try to amass their numbers, and that will result in political tangibles for that group. And that's what you're seeing right now in Dearborn.
Yeah, I mean, that's like over 100 something years. That will culminate. That'll be the capstone of them actually getting an actual mayor, because they really started coming in the you can go back as far as the 20s for this area, but more specifically in big numbers was in the 70s around the Iran and Iraq war. That's when a lot started to come during that time in the 70s and 80s during that time. But anyways, appointed Mayor Bill Bazzi, 58, that's Dearborn Heights, will become the first elected Arab American Muslim mayor of the city if he fends off a challenge from council chairman Denise Malinowski Maxwell. Bazzi was appointed mayor after Mayor Daniel Paletko's death in January of COVID-related symptoms. Hamtramck challenger Amir Gallup, 41, will become the first Arab American Muslim mayor if he bests four-term Mayor Karen Majowski, 66. Both are Democrats, like you were saying. Hamtramck was historically a Polish enclave. Then now it's basically a Yemeni / Bangladeshi enclave. The city, which for years was mostly European immigrant community, has grown to become a majority minority community over the last 2 decades, with an increasing number of residents of Middle Eastern and South Asian descent. Funny enough, there is a stadium in Hamtramck where the Detroit Negro League Baseball team actually played. There's a plaque that actually in the park, because whenever I stop by in that area, because I don't live that far from Hamtramck, and and now that stadium's pretty much been kind of converted into like a soccer field, because most of the people there play soccer, and some people play flag football too. Anyways, and this is Sterling Heights. Ken Nelson, 71, is vying to unseat Mayor Michael Taylor, 38, for the part-time gig to lead the state's 4th largest city. For real?
Yeah, man. I remember I was thrown away by it because I lived up there, and what was really interesting is the mayor was so young. Like, I lived there 4 or 5 years ago, man. My man was just my age, bro. He was like, "Man, let's go to get a beer." No, I'm kidding, but so he was mad young, and Sterling Heights is just like people they don't be knowing this. They just up there busting neck. People up in there stacked in Sterling Heights.
But more so than this, what I was aware of, the 4th largest city in the state is freaking Sterling.
That's what I'm talking about.
Like Grand Rapids always hype itself up. My wife is from Grand Rapids, so like I've been there more times than I care to. But they always, Grand Rapids is the 2nd largest city in the country. In the state. It's like it's barely bigger than Warren, bro. Like, it's like 5,000, maybe 5,000 people larger than Warren.
So what would be the third one? Pontiac? Like what would be the third one then?
Warren's
the third largest.
Right up there.
No,
I guess not.
I only got like 100,000.
I guess
and
not.
I only got like 100,000 people.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Wow. So
Warren got like 200,000. I think Grand Rapids is like 230. Warren is like 225. Sterling Heights must be 4. Livonia is like 200 and something. Like the metro area it's like 6 million people in the metro Detroit area.
Well, I'm trying to pull it up now. It's saying so. It said, what did they say, the 4th or the 3rd?
The 4th. This is the 4th largest city.
Yeah. So what I'm seeing is Sterling Heights at 130 something. Warren's just a little ahead of Sterling Heights. 133. Grand Rapids is 202. Then Detroit is 600,000.
So it went up.
And that's the crazy thing with those numbers. With the numbers in Detroit, where we got, even with all the lost population, we're at 600,000. That's 3 times more than the 2nd largest city in the state. We should be running the politics of the state, dude. You know what I'm saying?
Well,
like for real. You know what I mean? Yeah, that's
a
sad, dude. But anyways, in Royal Oak, a field of 5 candidates dubbing themselves the A team. I just thought of something. Instead, the A team, Royal Oak is pretty friendly to the rainbow people.
Yeah. Oh,
Okay,
yeah.
all right.
The A team. We got
Hey,
you got those on cue.
hey, well,
We
you
just
didn't
need
play the
people to
horn
know.
sound.
I did. I played it at the beginning.
He did.
I'm just thinking what the A team could represent. But anyways, our challenging 4 incumbent city commissioners and Mayor Michael Foreigner, 42. That's young as hell. That's like after a long-standing disagreement.
These cities has just got dudes just running them because they just out here flipping. It's crazy.
Tim Roth, a 60-year-old software engineer and current commander of the Frank Whitland American Legion Post 253, is challenging Foreigner. As a 9 p.m., Foreigner was leading an unofficial results. In Pontiac, former Michigan House Minority Leader and Oakland County Commissioner Tim Grimmel, 47, is leading in early results in the race for mayor against Alexandria. Wow, they're still young people, bro. 47 to Alexandria Riley, 35, the city's ex-chief development officer. Both are Democrats. Mayor DeAndre Waterman, 76, was scrubbed from the primary ballot because of campaign finance issues.
Stop, man. Every time y'all make me laugh, my chest hurt. Quit this.
Oh my God, man! Pontiac. Okay, so
Is she? I don't know.
So I'm assuming Tim must be a white guy. I'm assuming. Can we get a picture of this guy? Alexandria must be a black female. 35. That's pretty young, bro.
Oh, Ethan, let me see.
So my dad just texted something that it's relevant. I mean, to those who might be interested. It's not about this, but it's for Nevada. It's the Nevada Freedmen's Association. So Saturday, November 6th at 3 p.m., they're hosting an informational Zoom meeting on the history of freedmen, aka USA Negro families, freed from slavery by emancipation. They'll talk about how we can all collaborate to make reparations a reality, and the data explaining the freedmen/Black American economic position in Nevada and America today. You can register in advance for this meeting. I'll try to put the Zoom link in the bio in the description for this, just in case anybody wants to know. Trying to branch out and build coalitions with other freedmen organizations around the country and keep us all abreast of freedmen activities around the country.
Yo, all right. So with that being said, we need to kind of start to wrap up, but we need to have one last thing we got to share with the people. This is probably the most important part of our broadcast tonight regarding Detroit's 2021 election. We just seen Mike Duggan get reelected. We just seen them appoint, to approve a reparations commission that had a very weak definition assigned to it. Now we got to go and deal with that as fam because we can't let that go rampant. And we basically probably just seen Coleman A. Young Jr. come in on his namesake. Don't know what the hell his campaign platform was.
Coleman A. Young Jr. the second.
Yes, I'm sorry. Well, they put Junior on the ballot.
The second. He dropped the Junior for the second. He's a second now, no longer Junior. He's a second.
Yeah, so Coleman got in there.
You still got to see if Janae did. I mean, because as it looks like now, Mary Waters is ahead of her. So
yeah,
Waters might be in there, man.
But Mary is an incumbent, though, right?
No, she's not. No, Janae.
Janae. Everybody.
So Janae is the incumbent. Coleman obviously be brand new because he wasn't there before.
Nicole is new.
Yeah, Nicole.
And who was the Spivey? Was the other one?
Spivey resigned, man. So him.
I'm saying he was the other at large, right?
Okay.
No, was he?
Well, it was either him or it wasn't Leland. Yeah,
I thought it was Brenda. I thought it was Brenda
Jones.
Brenda Jones and Janae Ayers were the at large.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Whew, I'm mad. I mean, listen, what do y'all think the future of Detroit holds for the next 4 years? I mean, I think Duggan's just gonna continue whitewashing the city. That's his call to fame.
Yeah,
He's
that's what
gonna
I
just
think. I think it's gonna be more of the same, man, with more rubber stamps.
Well, you see what the mushrooms passing. I feel like mushrooms passing ain't on a lot of black people's radar. So the fact that it passed, I think it really is indicative of what you can expect the next few years. You're gonna have. I remember my dad was saying this maybe like 6 to 7 years ago. Well, he didn't say this. He heard what's his name? Jeffrey Feiger said that they should turn Detroit into Amsterdam. Basically, like make it a little Amsterdam, and that's what they're working on.
Yeah,
you're gonna be able to.
We got all the weed spots.
Yep.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Can the weed spots sell shrooms too?
I guess
not.
License for it. I guess they could.
Yeah, they'll at least be able to work under the table. I'm sure that I mean, people sell weed. They're not supposed to sell weed. So as long as you're not getting caught.
Yeah, it's stupid how they do it in DC. Shit, crazy.
Yeah,
man. Yeah, man. This is
dumb.
this is very.
Yeah, you got to be like. Go ahead, Ariel.
No, you say.
I was gonna say in DC you gotta do like donations to buy weed, so you're not like outright purchasing it. You going in making a donation to the person, and he giving you some weed in exchange.
That's stupid.
Like
or they gifted with the person.
Yeah, or gifted. Yeah, like so buy something.
It's like, hey, Darvell, I'm gonna buy a T-shirt from you.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying. But and the T-shirt comes with this amount of weed. You know what I mean? You buy this T-shirt to come with this amount of weed.
You said it's a $60 T-shirt. You said $100 T-shirt.
Yeah, you come with this amount of weed.
Yeah, my man. Just check the pocket when you get home, bro. Just check the pocket. It's a T-shirt, bro. It's a real nice T-shirt. This is how I see it, yo. This is very disheartening. It doesn't really kill my energy, but I think it's sad because I think this begs the question. You remember when we went out and talked to all the people at the voting locations throughout the city?
Yeah, we need to get back to that next midterm elections.
Yeah, well, I'd like to interview those people too, man. We need to just, whenever we can, just try to interview them. We could interview them, send them a Zoom link like this or whatever. Interview them, record it.
No. What I'm getting at is we need to go out there, right? We need to go and we need to go talk to people. Like I'm talking about probably like, if not this year, then when it warms up. Yeah. And say, why the hell did you vote for Duggan?
We gotta go. Yeah, we should go. Yeah, we should go to those places where we saw them yard signs. I guarantee you, it will be easy. It won't be hard to find those places where.
And we should do a count of who these people is. Who are you? Oh, you that person. I'm just like, I don't know. It's very sad.
The Avenue of Fashion. There's almost, over there, the Sherwood Forest. There's a bunch of them over there.
Indian Village.
Indian Village. We can go over there off of Grand River, over
Woods.
These people are stabbing themselves. It's still at 15%. And you know what's interesting though? Okay, that's 15%, but the total voter. Hold on. Well, I don't know how many people in total. If it's only 41%, I don't know. Right now, it's saying turnout's 15%, but they're saying that with only 40% of precincts reporting. Yeah. So maybe we're going to do better than 20%.
Well, Winfrey controlling the ballot, she'll probably make sure it's 15%.
Right.
She'll make
sure that her numbers are not more than a mayor. That's what she makes sure she'll do.
Good grief,
man!
This is so sad, man.
A 5th term of her, dude. Like, wow. I was really hoping that Denzel cat, even though I really wasn't a fan of his politics, but I just wanted her out. But
I'm going to have to come up there and run for mayor, huh?
Yep.
That's where it's going.
Yeah, man. Honestly, we have to run for something.
Yeah.
I feel like we'd have to one of us or somebody affiliated with our organization is gonna have to run just so there's somebody running saying something that needs to be said. Not necessarily because we expect to win, but just telling the truth, bro. Somebody gotta,
Yeah.
Man, I promise you, man. This is what makes this so bad to me is that this is the blackest city in the country. We can't even maintain black control over it. And what's happening is folks are slowly coming in, sucking the air out of the room, not like we had a lot of air, not like the city had a lot of air to begin with. And they're slowly converting it over into something that is not hospitable to the people who were there before they got there. And slowly but surely, there are many Black people lined up around the corner who are willing to co-sign this downward spiral of what we need to be upholding and protecting the most in this country right now in terms of a population center. Anybody who's watching this, who watches it later, who runs around talking about Atlanta being the Black capital of the country has a stick up their ass and they're ignorant. Atlanta is a cultural capital, that's sure, but it doesn't represent anything about the truth and reality of where most of Black America is really at right now. And I think that's why Detroit is so important, but also because Detroit represents the truth, people don't want to fucking deal with Detroit. And that's why they don't come to Detroit. That's why they don't talk about Detroit. That's why Detroit didn't get enough credit as the Black capital, because the last thing they want to do is associate themselves with the failure, which is exactly why Kamala Harris is associated with the AKAs and all these other organizations preferentially, and why they want to be seen with her. But they don't represent our interests because they claim they've been at the table for ages and they haven't gotten anything done. So I guess meeting with Kamala, the one person who we know is playing an optics game and has no power or leverage in the White House for the most part, because she's supposed to be working at the border. She ain't even talking about these checks that she gonna get to these folks because she ain't leading nothing. She ain't doing nothing. She ain't got the power. She ain't doing nothing. They using her. And that's what that was. And that's what this is.
But you know, she immigrant connected too. So, I mean,
Yeah,
in her
exactly.
eyes, this might be great.
She's pushing for the H-1B ones for her people. The AKAs, they more worried about a insecure episode than they are about our people, man.
They are, man. Right. So let's go ahead and shut this one down, y'all. Yep. That's all I got. I give it to J Rocky, then Ernest and Stedman closes out. What you got, J Rocky?
Hey, man, I close like I always do, man. We have no permanent friends. We have no permanent enemies or permanent interests. And that's what we try to get through is, through the reparationist lens, our permanent interest. And also I give credit to Brother Logic from BTP is saying, hey, the government is the game and politics is how it's played.
Yep. And I'll pretty much say, just like always, that was well said by Brother J Rocky. But just for the folks who watch the show, make sure y'all tune in with us next Tuesday, the 16th. We do have a new schedule. We definitely hope you guys enjoyed this video. Like Stedman said, he's going to drop a link to the Nevada Freedmen Association conference. Definitely encourage you guys to attend. I'll probably try to see if I can pop in on that. But as far as our politics go, we got to start taking these things more serious. And that definitely comes with holding certain organizations more accountable. I mean, at this point, the same way how the Divine Nine has a presence at the national stage, they also have that presence in Michigan and in Detroit and Southfield. The same organizations that we just named, they command over 100,000 members, and that's easily enough to sway the results of the Detroit election or any other election. But the reality is they're not wielding their political power the proper way for the people in the way that it was meant to be wielded in the first place. But I'll end with that.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at the situation with the border and what we're seeing as far as HBCUs and overall the condition of the descendants of freedmen in this country, the one thing I hope that we can kind of remember and understand is that it's possible to have this corrected, right? Every time you hear somebody saying, they'll never do, or this ain't gonna happen, or this ain't whatever. It's possible, but it's people like that who talk like that who'll stop you from even trying to get the work done. We gotta try our best to hold the people accountable who are fine selling the rest of us out, right? That's what we gotta work on doing. Holding these bootlicks accountable who fine getting their biscuits buttered, at our expense. That's what we gotta make sure we do, right? Because you got non-citizens who committed a crime, regardless of what that crime is, regardless of what the conditions that caused that crime to be committed, they committed a crime. You're not given that same consideration. We're not given that same consideration as a group, right? At the city level, at this local level, we see the change in demographics, right? Black ownership of homes in this state, specifically in this city, decreased exponentially after 0809, and they're continuing to decrease. The result of the overtaxation. You see Duggan is bringing in an influx of people. He's bringing in an influx of investment, which is continuing to exacerbate the homelessness or loss of homes for Black Detroiters, right? These are issues that need to be addressed. We need you to share this information. We need you to share these videos around. We need you to start having these conversations with your close friends and coworkers. You can't just keep this video every other Tuesday and talk about it with us in the chat and then go about your day for the rest of the other 13 days in between the next video. It's time now to start putting this stuff that we talk about into action. Start taking the small steps that we try to give y'all to try to mobilize your community. Just small ways. Just sharing the information. You don't have to share this whole 3-hour video or 2.5. Just the small little things we talk about. Trying your best to inject those into the conversations with your family, with your friends, with your coworkers. This information is important because it's our community that suffers. They're taking care of who they want to take care of. But we're forced to bear the burden and eat the failure that is required for the system to work like it does. The efficiency of the system is built upon us eating the garbage. So, with that, great show. I'm glad, we could come together again. Second day in a row. A great show. We got a lot of work to do. We got a lot of work to do. We got a lot of work to do. And I'm up to it, I'm up to it. And I know y'all up to it, and that's what it is. That's just what it is. So that's it.
Peace, y'all.
Peace and reparations.
Peace.